I have 255 left, so with stack sizes, this is a no-brainer spot to just jam. I go ahead and do that. The big blind snap calls, and we're going one time for all the marbles.
What's up, everybody? I'm super excited today. We're headed to our first ever meetup game. It's at Lucky Aces Social Club, a new club that's opening up here in Houston. Without further ado, let's get into that action. I'm recording a video.
That's even better.
Yeah, I'm just gonna put that in there.
Okay, welcome back. We are buying in for $310, playing $1, $2 with a $1,000 max buy-in cap. I go ahead and sit down on the button. First hand, I get dealt Jack 4, but it's suited. To be honest, I have to play this hand, but since it's the very first hand, I'm just going to limp button as both Wes in the small blind and Albert buy in pretty deep and are much more accustomed to playing 5-5 or 5-10. We are early, so we are only sitting four-handed, and I make a joke about limping the button first hand. Wes does elect to raise the $10. Albert in the big blind calls, and well, of course I'm calling here because I have blockers. Three ways to a flop that comes Ace Jack 5, small blind and big blind check. Both of these players are capable of checking an ace, so I'd prefer checking back middle pair with a weak kicker. I may bet something like Queen Jack or King Jack here. The turn, though, is gin when the 4 hits. Wes checks. Albert now bets $25. Raising or calling here is fine, but as aggressive as either of these players can be with bluffs, I smooth call. Wes folds. Heads up to a river. A 3 bringing in the 4-liner. Now Albert leads out for $55. In general, a raise here is fine as I don't see him showing up with a deuce. Very often, the most likely one would be ace deuce. I'm mostly targeting one pair type hands that are rarely calling a raise here, so not getting called by much worse than maybe 2 pair like 4-5. I also like information, and in position he will have to show his hand first. For all of these reasons, I just call, and he shows 6-4 and I take down the first pot. 9-4 suited under the gun, that's a fold. Next hand in the big blind with a button straddle, I look down at Jack 4 offsuit. I don't want to be accused of cheating, so I just fold. Then 9-3 offsuit, that's a fold. 5-handed now. So far there's been a button straddle almost every hand, and with aggressive opponents in the blinds, I do like to straddle the button, causing them to act first and maintaining my position on all streets. I do elect to straddle here and get dealt King 3 offsuit. Wes calls in the big blind. Everyone folds. I check. Heads up to a flop that comes King 7-4. He checks. With top pair, I'm going to bet this for value, and I bet $10. He calls. His range is probably fairly wide here. The turn is a 5, giving us the low end of the gut shot with our top pair. He checks. In most cases I would bet this turn, but something seems off, whether it be the fact that this would be a good card for him to check raise turn, or it's just a feeling I'm getting. I decide to check back turn. The river is a 6. I improve to a straight, but it's the low end. Now he leads for $25. Very interesting lead here. I look very weak and could have been c-betting the flop with all of my hands I missed. Then I check back turn. I 100% need to raise here and get max value given the way the hand was played. But for some idiotic reason, I just call. And I win, of course. Interesting though, he told us that he was going to check raise us on the turn if I fired again. Then we get dealt 3-9 of hearts. Of course, that's a fold. After that, I get ace queen offsuit and raise to $12. No one calls. Then 7-6 offsuit's a fold. We fill up to 6-handed now, and I look down at ace king offsuit. A late position player opens the $10 and the button folds. Now it's on me, and I will 3-bet this hand. I don't really want to get tricky early on and just call, because then any bluffs I run take weird lines, and I don't want the big blind to call. I make it $30. Late position calls. We are heads up to a flop that is 7-6-3 with the lead. Pretty standard c-bet here on this texture. I bet $45 and he folds. The very next hand on the button, I straddle and look down at pocket nines. Wes in the big blind raises the $15 and it folds to me, and I just make the call in position. Heads up to a flop that comes queen 7-3, and he leads out for $15. With second pair, not much to do here. Folding to this bet on this board is nitty, and raising doesn't accomplish anything, so I make the call. The turn is the jack of clubs. Now he checks, and once again, with third pair, we have showdown value and don't want to make this pot any larger. This is an easy check back. The river is another queen, and he checks again. I think I could bet this river for thin value. He does hold a lot of jack X, but for the most part, we are well above his range as played. As if I were a baby at a haunted house, scared AF, I decided to check back, and I win this small pot. The very next hand, I get queen 10 offsuit and open up the action of $15. The button calls, and I flop nothing and pretty much check fold to a button $20 bet. Queen 6, fold, 9-6, fold, 9-10 of clubs in the big blind. There's a raise to $15. I defend, and the flop is 7 king 3 with 2 diamonds, and I check fold to a bet. 8 deuce off is a fold. Next up, we're on the button and we straddle. It folds to the cutoff, who goes all in for $31. I'm last to act. We're only 6-handed and have queen 8 offsuit. It's double up or rebuy time for him. I'm at a meetup game, so I ask him if he wants some action. He says sure, so I make the call for some fun. He shows us king, so clearly he wanted a call. Wes makes a prop bet with Albert for 100 pennies, betting on my queen 8. Albert accepts. Can we pull off this massive suck out? The board runs out. 5 of spades, 4 of spades, 10 of clubs. The turn is no help with the 4 of clubs, but the river comes in clutch with the 8 of diamonds, and we don't win anyways. It doesn't matter. Just a pair. Gotcha. We did pick up a player in our 7-handed now. We get dealt 6 deuce of diamonds, fold. Ace-7 offsuit, I fold. 7-8 offsuit in the big blind, I fold. Ace-8 of diamonds, I limp and call a $10 raise and fold flop. Jack-deuce offsuit, won't be playing that. 6-9 offsuit in the small blind, fold. 6-9 of clubs on the button. There is a straddle under the gun, which takes precedent to the button. A few callers. I call. The action checks through to the turn, and there is a bet, and I fold. Now, king 5 offsuit, that's a fold. I might have missed a hand or two in here. I might have taken a restroom break or something, but now in the big blind with deuce, I change my camera view, and there is a straddle on the button. I call. There is no raise, and I head to a flop 4 ways. I don't hit a set, and action checks to the turn where there is a bet of $10, and I fold. We get queen jack in the small blind. There is a raise to $20 and 1 call, and this is a fold for sure. On to the next hand. I straddle the button as I have been in this game, look down at 8-4 offsuit, and after 3 callers, I just check. The flop comes ace-deuce-deuce. After all players check to me, and with absolutely nothing, I decide to bet as a bluff. Wes in the big blind clearly sees through my soul and raises to $65. Everyone folds, including me. Next hand in the cutoff, I have ace of clubs, 5 of spades. There's an under the gun straddle, 1 caller, and I raise to $20. Wes, now in the small blind, 3 bets me to $65. It folds back to me, and I know he's capable of doing this very wide, given that I have been making a decent amount of bets and raises. I'm also in position here, which is good. I block some value aces also he might raise with, but I'm not taking this hand to war, so I fold. Clearly, I think he might be on to us, opening up or betting a little light in late position. Time for adjustments, maybe. The very next hand, 6-10 suited, and it goes into the muck. 6-5 offsuit, also folding. And now that brings us to an interesting hand. Let's call it interactive. Pay close attention. Straddle on the button, small blind folds. I make it $15. Only middle position calls. The pot is $36. The flop comes king of spades, question mark. I bet $15. Middle position calls. The turn is the 8 of diamonds. Great card for my range. I check. Middle position bets $25. Now what should I do when I don't know my hole cards or 2 of the cards on the board? What would you do? I think this is a raise given the ranges and board texture. We have lots of equity here by holding only any 2 random cards in the damn deck. Want to know what I had? So do I. I have no clue because I didn't record it or write it down in my notes. Yeah, no notes, no good filming here. My bad. Yeah, worst hand review I've ever done. I don't know what happened there. Jack 3 offsuit, that's a fold. Button, I straddle, look down at 9 of spades, 5 of spades. Limps around, I check, whiff the flop, and fold to a bet. Okay, seriously though, let's get to a real hand. I am dealt 2 red jacks in the cutoff, and there is an under the gun raise from a fairly tight player to $15. It's on me, and I have some options. Raising here isn't bad. It helps get rid of anyone behind who wants to come along. But this is an under the gun opening raise and range. So I paused for a second to see if the button had any tells, and he looked like he was motioning to fold, giving me the last position to act. So I decided to just call here and play the hand in position. The big blind also calls 3 ways to a flop that comes ace of diamonds, jack of clubs, 4 of clubs. Yeah, buddy. The big blind checks, and under the gun bets $25. With middle set and 2 clubs on board, this is a very eligible raise, and most people would raise here due to the flush and straight possibilities. But this player under the gun doesn't bet king queen here. Most people aren't folding most flush draws anyways, so smooth calling could get me a lot more money. And that's what I do. I just call the 25, and to our beautiful surprise, the big blind puts in a huge raise to $140. And after some thinking, the under the gun folds. The big blind never has aces here, so I'm not worried about that. I have 255 left, so with stack sizes, this is a no-brainer spot to just jam. I go ahead and do that. The big blind snap calls, and we're going one time for all the marbles. Our opponent does show ace-jack for top 2. The run out is no ace, no ace, no ace. 7 of diamonds on the turn, 2 of clubs on the river, and I scooped this very nice sized pot. Let's go. We needed this win. The very next hand, I get dealt 8-9 of diamonds. There is a raise from early position to $30, and I just call. The small blind also calls. The flop comes queen of spades, 2 of clubs, 7 of hearts. Early position leads for $50, and I fold. And the very next hand after that, I get pocket queens. Let's go. With a button straddle and 3 callers, I decide to raise it to $30. I get 4 callers, not ideal, so we're 5 ways to a flop that comes ace, ace, king. And the action checks to me. We do have 2 pair, but with this many callers, it's very likely a player is holding an ace, so I check back my option as I'm not getting value from any worse hands if I bet here. The turn is the 10 of spades. 1 check, and now a player bets $55. It folds to me, and sadly, I just have to let it go here or turn my hand into a bluff, and I'm not doing that in this situation. Jack 7 offsuit is a fold. I think I missed one hand in there. Oh well. 3-3 in the big blind, a few limps. I check, flop comes, all bricks, and I check, fold to a bet. 9-3 offsuit, that's a fold. Now on the button, I look down at king jack offsuit. I'm straddling the button. There are a few limps, but I decided not to raise this hand. Normally, I would definitely like to 3-bet this hand, and with just 2 limps, I should for sure be raising. Don't know why I didn't, but by not raising, my hand strength, I guess, is disguised. I check back. The flop is 3 of spades, 6 of diamonds, 10 of spades. Action checks around. The turn is a 10 of clubs, and action checks through again. The river is a king of spades. It checks to me, and I bet $10 and no one calls. Now on to the next hand. I have 3 6 of clubs. The action folds to me, and I raise the $10 in the cutoff. Small blind is the only customer. Flop comes king of diamonds, 5 of spades, 8 of spades. He checks, I check. The turn is a 3 of diamonds. Goes check, check again. The river, I can't remember what it was, but we both check, and I win with a pair of 3s. 6-8 offsuit, fold. King 4, fold. Big blind, 9-4 off. Goodbye. Queen jack of spades. I call a $20 raise and then check fold on the turn. Now in late position with king jack of clubs. Early position opens to $15. He has been fairly active since sitting down, raising, and splashing around, so I gave him a loose aggressive tag. So when it's on me, I 3-bet his open to $45. It folds to him, and he makes the call. I'm ruling out some hands since I didn't get 4-bet here. Heads up to a flop that comes queen, jack, 9 rainbow, and he checks to me. Not the best flop, but not the worst flop. Middle pair with a straight draw. I decide to bet here. If he has a strong hand, I do think he'll raise and let us know. I make it $40, and he just quickly folds. The very next hand, I get 4-6 of clubs. And I wish I could tell you all the details about this hand, but sometimes when you play back-to-back hands and you have to take the notes without a good view of the board from the camera, remembering all details from both hands is difficult because I can't write it down the first hand while I'm playing the second hand. So I do know I win this pot, but I'm not sure of everything, so I'm not going to go through it. 5-7 of diamonds, I call a $15 raise and fold on the flop. 6-7 of diamonds, I call the $5 straddle 6 ways and check fold the flop. Now Queen 6, I fold. We get ace, king, queen, deuce in a bomb pot, nothing on both boards, and fold to a $35 bet. 7-9 offsuit fold, Jack 7 fold, Queen 8 off fold, Queen 3 fold, 8 deuce fold. I straddle the button with ace 10 of hearts. It folds to me, and I raise to $15. Albert in the big blind calls. The flop comes 3 of spades and 2 cards. I don't remember. They definitely don't pair me. And he checks, and I check. The turn is the 8 of diamonds. He checks, and I bet $10. He calls. The river is a brick, giving us no pair. So when he checks it over to me, I check it back, and we actually win this one with ace high. Queen 8 of hearts, I raise to $20 and get 2 callers in late position. So when the flop comes down, all bricks, and there's a bet, I go ahead and fold. 10-4 of clubs, that's a fold. Now on to a very interesting hand. Pocket 4s we get, and I just call the $5 straddle. Wes on the button raises to $25. No one else calls, and I go ahead and make the call heads up because we're both fairly deep, and the flop comes 3-3-8. Now I go ahead and check it over to him, and he bets $20, which is about 1/3 pot, and I think this is a good bet by him because he could make this bet on this board texture with his entire range here. Knowing that he knows that, I'm definitely going to continue and make the call. The turn comes the ace of clubs. Not a good card for us as it smashes a lot of his range that completely missed the flop. So I check, and he bets $50. Once again, this is the mind game. His range contains more aces than mine, and he knows this. All in all, this is a fairly dry board. I think in most cases I fold this here, but he isn't betting huge or being hyper aggressive, and I decide to make the speculative call. Now we are off to a river that peels off another 8. This card is very good for my range. As played, I could hold a lot of 8s here, and I don't think my 4s are good at this point. So it's time to either give up or make a bluff. In hindsight, I think the best way is to lead out here for a very sizable bet, something like $125. My plan in game though is to check raise. Expect if he thinks we hold an 8, he's probably not betting here. And of course he does not bet and ends up checking back. He shows down ace 3 for the turn full house. Yikes. Would have been an interesting hand though, even more interesting, if I did lead or check raise that river there to see what he does with that hand. I do have a prior engagement, so I have to get up out of here. I fold a few hands and then rack up. We are in this game, this meetup game, for $310 and cashed out $502 for a victory of $190 after $2 to the cash out lady.
So unfortunately guys, we didn't get to play with Drew or John or Alex. They didn't show up until like 7 p.m. or 6 p.m. that night, and I had prior engagements like I said, but I had a great time playing with Wes and Albert, and we booked the W for 190. We're headed back in the right direction, and in that direction I mean to the moon, baby. I'll see you guys next time. Hit that subscribe button and hit that notifications button so you know when my next videos are coming out. We're gonna ramp some stuff up here. Let's go.